And I would like to ask you, how do you see this compromise that we have to deal with, in which ESG integration can bring us into the world a lot of good things, but has also some risks, and I would like you to comment on that.
Well, I'm not sure if answering in Spanish or in English, but I will try in English. The different views. In the short time, sure, ESG is inflationary because all companies has to change. So this change implies change the type of production, change the way that they offer their products, change the, increase the prices to change everything in the company to adapt it to the new ESG requirements. So in the short time, for sure. It's clear, the example, for example, in Spain is very clear, no? Now the price of the energy is grow every day, no? And why this happened? Because we were not prepared. All the people wants to be sustainable. All the people wants to have new sustainable energy. However, we are not prepared. So we still needs to import energy from different countries. We have decided not to support nuclear energy, but later we have to import from France, for example. So nowadays, the price of the energy is clearly very high because we want to be sustainable. But in the medium and long term, I think this is not going to be inflation. No va a ser, is not going to be, inflation is not going to be a factor for advance in the ESG factors for the companies. Of course, when everybody has adapted their process, there will be no problem. Nowadays, I think that for each company, first thing is that you have to prepare your company, your employees, your managers. They have to learn how to implement it ESG in all the chain process. So of course it's going to be inflationary in the short term, but not in the long and medium term, I think.
I think that from the audience there hasn't been any question yet, but I would also, and addressing the topic of the sustainability importance for our capital markets, not only in Portugal but also in Spain or in Europe as a whole. How do you think that companies can adapt, and how do you think that smaller companies can evolve in this environment? What are the initiatives that, for instance, you've seen in Spain in order to help those companies?
It's a really good question, Manuel. In Spain, for example, there is private initiatives to help small and medium caps to understand first and to implement it second ESG. For example, the Spanish Society of Financial Analysts has developed what we call Lighthouse. It's an independent analysis department. Don't forget that the Spanish Society is non-for-profit organization. And this Lighthouse, what it's doing is to do analysis for orphan companies, dedicated only in small and medium caps that they do not have any financial analyst following the company. So we began with traditional financial analysts, and then we move now to the ESG. So Lighthouse is going to do ratings for the E, the S, and the G for small and medium caps. I have to say, with a very, very few price, it's amazing. We do not want to compete with the large rating agencies. We are just focusing on small and medium caps. And our idea is that we are going to give advice and then rating. So you can request some advice how to implement ESG in the company, or you can request for rating. And I have to say that we hope to be successful. We have a lot of small and medium companies. We are doing a lot of a roadshow through our stock exchange, together with the stock exchange in Spain, in Barcelona, Madrid, Valencia, to clearly explain to the companies how they can take into account the ESG aspects especially as Philippe said before, trying that they do not have to pay a premium risk when they are going to find, when they are trying to find, to obtain finance from the bank system. And thinking that for the future is very clear that if you have not an ESG rating, it's going to be very difficult for these small and medium caps to begin to be listed in the market. So this is a private initiative, but with a lot of support of the stock exchange, of the Spanish stock exchange, and also of our regulators, because at the end of the day, do not forget that regulators are more than happy to hear this type of initiatives from the private sector.
So the financing of the initiative is not only private, but also supported by the Spanish state in the order of the regulators and the stock exchange.
Well, the financing is now from the Spanish society. The Spanish society has some sponsors, of course, not from the public sector, but our regulator looks very well this initiative, because at the end of the day, help the companies to list it and to give much better information to retail investors, of course. No? Nobody is going to invest in a small and medium caps if there is no any kind of analysis of the company.
How many companies are with that kind of situation within the Spanish community?
Well, a very large number. I have to say, for example, for traditional financial analysis, we follow more than 40 companies, and we expect it for ESG, because in ESG it's not only listed, it's also no listed companies. Right. So I think that more than 2,000 companies in the future.
Impressive.
And of course, Manuel and Philippe and for all the audience, as Manuel said before, I have to apologize for my English, of course, but for many years when I left the capital markets, I decided to change my life to prepare professionals to work in our financial markets. No? And for me, when we talk about ESG, what is really, really important is that all professionals that work in the financial markets understand properly and have enough knowledge to explain to the clients what ESG, what is the impact of the ESG. Because at the end of the day, we have to avoid situation where the retail investors make, when they when they have to invest their money, they need to have clear in mind that the professionals who attend their needs have the fully understand, full information of the ESG topics. So that's why in EFAS, and also, of course, Apaf as member of EFAS, we are clearly involved in the training and qualification of professionals. If we want to be successful in the future, if we want that the ESG is over or everything, we need to prepare properly our professionals in the markets. And this is very, very important for me. So I want to thank Apaf, because I know that you are doing your best in Portugal to promote the knowledge of the ESG, of ESG.
Yes, and Jesus, if you allow me, I think that one way of to transmit that message is that ESG knowledge has passed from a stage from which it was nice to have for a must-have. And I think it's not only on the financial community which of course is our community and is our focal point, but in terms of the companies themselves, they have to understand that, as we all said before, it has to do with financing, but it has also to do to being able to stay in the market. Because when you analyze the sustainability reports of some companies, and more companies, we see that they take a good care of trying to understand what are the ESG integration in their suppliers. And some CMEs are, very dependent on some clients in terms of their activity. So they can be more or less put out of market if they don't have any ESG integration, and of course measuring, because one thing is to integrate ESG factors and the other is to measure the impact, which is more, well, as important as integrating ESG elements. And this is something that I think it's not yet clear to the community, to the corporate community. They tend to see as only as a big company's problem, companies that have to speak with the market because they issue bonds or because they want to be in the investment portfolios. But I think that in the future, we may have a scenario in which some company that has a formal ESG rating will demand from their suppliers the same. The same thing that we see, for instance, in quality standards nowadays with ISO and all that kind of standards. I think this can roll out to a reality in which companies that don't have ESG integration at all will be simply put out of the market, and this, of course, has some risks.